this computer. Fantastic. We're now rolling. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to start. We have 45 minutes for this call because I'm stealing the bridge that we use for all the HCI yoga classes for this meeting. And so there's a 4 o'clock class. We'll need to be evicted out of here for that. Savitaji, how are you doing? I can't hear you. You're on mute, Savitaji.
Yes, I'm doing fine. Thank you,
Oh,
Guruji.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Rashmiji, thank you for the story. I have several inputs for all of us today. We've made significant progress, so thank you for participating in the progress so far. And now we need to, one second, what have I done? One second, I'm playing around with the computer and now I've messed things up. Okay.
So what did we miss last? I mean, I missed last session.
No, last Sunday we didn't do a class.
No,
so last Saturday, the one before, yeah, I'll
yeah.
sum up.
Okay.
Okay, so let's, I'm going to just restart with everyone's permission and just, we'll keep rolling. And, okay. So this is the project that we're doing, right? And we said our objective is to answer the question, how are you doing? And answer it in a way that allows us to understand your quality of life in universal terms, not just in Hindu terms or American terms, but just we can translate this conversation to anywhere on the planet and people will understand. But we want to reconcile diverse perspectives on quality of life, such as health, relationship, our lifestyle, our work, and so on. And also see if we can incorporate Hindu concepts of ashrama, santosha, purusharthas, and all the 3 yogas from the Bhagavad Gita, and finally lead to a synthesis of HCI's perspective on quality of life in simple terms. This is important, and that's where all your work has come quite handy. Now, once we have 4 identified, then we can focus on how to improve quality of life and synthesize these into simple recipes that can be followed and tell those recipes through personal stories. So then so what we've done is a 3-stage thing. Help people answer the question, how are you doing? Help them understand how they could do better and be able to relate those ideas on how to do better through stories and simple examples. So then everyone that we talk to will be able to improve their quality of life without becoming a Hindu or without having a PhD or Shastra degree in Hindu tradition. So that's our background. And so here, what I've done is I've summarized everything we've discussed in these meetings so far into a simple framework. And the reason I skipped last week, and I've been trying to do this forever, and it requires a presence of time and clarity, which I was lacking. But fortunately, I was able to find some time. This quote, by the way, is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, where Sage Yajnavalkya has led a full life, and now he tells his 2 wives, Maitreyi and the other wife, that I'm dividing Devahuti, I think. I'm wondering who. Anyway, so he tells his wives that, look, I'm dividing the property to you 2, and then bye-bye, see you later. And so Maitreyi, his wife, says, hello, you can't just get up and go. What's the point of all this wealth? Is it going to bring me happiness? No, it's not. So why don't you tell me the real give me something real to take back. He says, okay, well, you've asked me to learn the truth that is nearest to my heart. So now come sit with me and I will explain to you. And as they say in Hindi, dhyan se suno, meditate on what I say. And so then he describes, and the whole Taittiriya Upanishad follows from that point. But anyway, I thought that was a fun quote. Now, if we'll recall this mind map, I'll just pull it up so that you see it. We have had a series of conversations, right? You'll see your names here. I'm going to rush through this because our interest is not here. We had a lot of thoughts around quality of life. And then last call, we tried to summarize them into a few groups, those in bold. And I'm not going to spend any time on that because we're going to look at that right now here. So For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you the story of quality of life as we have come to from the group. This is still work in progress. So if you have any inputs, start typing away into the chat window and I'll pick it up at the end of the 15 minutes. All right. So with your permission, unless you have any questions, I'm going to start rolling. Okay. All right. So the first thing that we recognize about quality of life is that it's somewhat, Namaskar, who's this? Someone's joining and I'm wondering who they are.
Shanti ji, I think, because she is not here.
Shanti ji is
I
not
think
here, but
Kavita
who?
also.
Yeah.
Kavita is also in our group. So I told her that we have a call today. So I don't know
Okay.
whether she's joining.
Oh,
Okay. Also, we're using the chat bridge, so it might be. Anyway, we'll see. If people watching, it's okay. Never mind. Okay, so the first thing that we recognize about quality of life is that it's very hard to describe and define, which is the reason we have this problem that we're dealing with. And in Hindu tradition, we talk about aims of life, the Purusharthas. And we're going to be using these 4 ideas in all the other ideas to come, which is the Purusharthas, you could think of them as aims of life, Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. And what we are realizing from our conversations is that we're looking for a dynamic and energetic state of harmony between all these, not one at the expense of the other. There's not dharma over everything else, or artha, financial freedom over everything else, or fulfillment of desire over everything else, or to hell with everything, I'm going to just go into the mountains and just try to get moksha. Not one or the other, but all 4 in dynamic and energetic balance. Because when I'm dead, everything is in balance, but it's an inert state of balance. And also, we can find balance at any given point of time, but it will change and circumstances change. And now we have to find a new balance. And that's the reason we're calling it a dynamic state of harmony between all 3. Now, there are 4 ideas here. One is a sense of order within my person and everybody else, and the society and the universe at large. The next idea is artha, which is financial freedom, and there are limits to that as will come. The third is fulfillment of desire, because the human birth, our objective is we are filled with desire and we must fulfill it. But how much fulfillment are we really talking about? And the fourth is freedom, a sense of lightness. Those are the things we want to discuss. Now, what we're seeing in modern society is that while standard of living is rising, this green dotted line, our quality of life seems to be suffering somewhat. And you could argue that there is a point at which the incremental increase in standard of living is not bringing any more improvement in quality of life. So that's a good example of a lack of harmony across artha and whatever it is that we're defining the quality of life as. There is a point at which it peaks, and then it's no longer useful to do more of that thing. So these 4 purusharthas must be in harmony. That's one observation. Now, what is the taste or touch or smell of quality of life? And what we came around to is it's an ineffable. Ineffable means hard to define or describe. Ineffable peace. It's in Islam, you might call it Islam, which is the sense of peace itself. Right? What is that peace? We call it ananda, and it's causeless enjoyment. If you're not happy because you just had cane sugar or juice or something, you're happy because of no reason. You're happy because that's your state of being. It's also a feeling of well-being, right? Not being unhealthy. A feeling that I have a lot of time. Each of these ideas, by the way, we will expand that in the next few slides. A feeling of lightness, a feeling of freedom, and a freedom from especially death and all fear. It's not just a state of relaxation, but it's also a state of alertness. And we do that in meditations where when you're sleeping, for example, you're relaxed, but you have no memory of that peace. But when we wake up, we feel this sense of well-being, right? When we wake up, because we've experienced that ananda, but we're not alert to it. Can we be awake and have the same sense of relaxation? That's where we want to be in ananda. Now, this idea of this experience, which is hard to define, is the central piece of quality of life. And how we get to this experience, there are all these ideas that we discussed. First set of ideas is around being comfortable and being complete. Because you see, unease is the disease of our times. We're just designed to be uneasy because we feel that it's our drive, it's our motivation. We must strive to be ambitious and do something. But that unease is aswastha. It is not, because swastha itself means being in the self. Swastha also means health. So of course, having good health is primary, because if you don't have health, then all your experience is vitiated or sullied by that experience. The other thing with the modern world is that because we lack any obvious enemy, we still have this sense at the back of our head that something must be wrong, there's some uncompleteness. And that in modern psychology would call it existential dread, Rajuji Namaskar, or angst. And this drives a lot of people to madness in the modern world. The opposite of that is a state of fullness, right? Looking for completeness happens to be a lifelong pursuit for people. But purnata is this inherent fullness that manifests at the cessation of all pursuit. When you no longer want something because you look, I have enough. That is purnata, and that having enough is what we want. But we spend all our life having and having more instead of having enough. That's one sort of pair of problems where quality of life is vitiated. Next is satisfaction and santosha. Two different ideas, but they have something in common and some separate parts. So we put them on the same page, which is santosha is, again, we discussed in the previous slide, happy being where you are with no plans, not necessarily wanting more what you don't have. And if even adverse circumstances come, charavati, this will pass, it's okay, it's all good. That's santosha. It's not inert. This isn't saying, I'm just going to sit here and it doesn't matter. It's saying, look, I understand and I'm equanimous to sukha dukkha, right? And that's a very core part of the Gita as well. Linked to that, but somewhat different, is this satisfaction that you get from being full and complete. And as Mick Jagger famously said, these days we can't get any satisfaction, right? And what we're noticing is that it's inversely proportional to speed. The more rushed you feel, the less satisfied you feel. So the more time you can create to follow your interests, the more satisfied you feel. But again, this world, modern life, is designed to be rushed. And I'll come to time in a few slides. This is another set of things. Now, order, dharma, in dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. Dharma is inherent order, a sense of belonging, a sense of relationship with ourselves and with the universe and with the creator. And this connection, not just, look, I'm here and the rest of the world is outside, but a sense of connection with the world. And that connection comes in both directions, receiving and giving both, right? I have obligations that come as part of the connection. And because I'm connected, I have expectations that the world does things for me. And to have that support and love, to love and to be loved in a harmonious sense, that is a sense of dharma. And whenever we're pushed away from the state of dharma, it's adharma, and it leads to a poor quality of life. Some of those are now, in a modern sense, encapsulated in the concept of dharma, of loneliness, which I'm calling dharma interrupted, right? Where our friend network is shallow, our distractions, digital distractions are breaking the connection we have with our own self, our own feelings and experiences. Family structures are breaking down and we live in isolation, not just in pandemic times, and lack of trust. This leads to physical symptoms. And it's almost like you're permanently grieving for lost connections. And this loneliness is a very modern symptom. I don't have a Sanskrit word for it because it's a modern problem. Now, the connection with the self, you would call it as swadharma. To know yourself, to be permanently and perpetually engaged with yourself in an effortless sense of play or lila. to go beyond Maslow's need hierarchy of, basic needs and going on to higher needs and exploring your own multiple interests and fully articulating as a personality. In many ways, you could say this is singing the inner song. Like birds, they don't need a boss to tell them to sing. They just sing because it's what's coming to their heart. They're just singing their inner song. And now ways of doing that as humans we are discussed are to serve and to connect and to worship. And being social creatures, service is a key part of Swadharma, because my nature is to serve, right? I'm a social species, but we don't know how to serve. And that does not allow us to fully execute our Swadharma. And because your Swabhava is different from my Swabhava, your mileage may vary. You might have to do different things to meet your Swadharma than I do. Your rules and my rules are not the same. Now, the cycle of life continues, and I will replace this with the HCI line, though I like the circle more because it's the cycle of life. But through the life, our experiences change and different things happen to us at different times. And between us and the family, there are interactions that allow us to, that shape our experience, and which we have to be cognizant of. Now we come to the idea of surrender, because we're coming soon to the idea of freedom and lightness. Surrender and complete surrender is important, because if I feel like the world works because I am running the world, then I'm carrying a very heavy load. And that heavy load does not give me any freedom. It only binds me. And so being able to shed that load by saying, you know what, I'm not running this world. You are running this world, your business, you take care of it. That complete surrender, prapatti, and becoming childlike as a result, gives a sense of peace and tranquility like never before. And so from the Gita, we notice that Bhagavan Krishna said, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam. Yoga is to assemble things, to collect things, right? Yogdan karte hai, right? Or as they say in Hindi, yoga is to collect things. And Kshema is preserving. So just as they say in Hindi, Kushal Kshem pooch rahe hain. So Kshema is protecting. So collecting and protecting are my things. God, Sri Krishna says, surrender unto me and I will take care of collecting and preserving. But if you don't surrender, then both collecting and preserving become an individual pursuit, which brings with it a lot of heaviness. And that heaviness prevents us from being in a good state of quality of life. And our relationship with the universe, is it one of friendliness or enmity? If it's friendly, then good things happen to us. And if it's enmity, I'm always trying to protect myself from bad things. I'm always buying insurance, and that's not a good place to be. You should buy insurance, by the way. Why? Because we want moksha. We want freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from everything, all sorts of things, good and bad. Freedom from anxiety, right? Our name for heaven is Vaikuntha. Kuntha is anxiety. Vaikuntha is anxieties are gone. I want to be in a place of no anxiety. My mind is free of the modifications of the mind. Chitta vritti nirodha. Freedom also from fear, especially the fear of death. Freedom also from all this bulk of knowledge that we've assembled in our head, all the samskara, and just becoming a beginner again. But not just negative things, freedom also from hope, because hope is a crutch that prevents us from fully realizing our true nature. We're always hoping something good will happen. We're hoping this will happen. If I'm hoping I do this, then somebody else will do that. Somebody else will do whatever the heck they want. We should do whatever is right for us to do at the time. So Asha Pash is from the Gita. Freedom also from that. And freedom from Sukha Dukkha. Saying, I'm not identifying with the suffering self. So this freedom is probably the most important freedom. Gaurav is hurting because Gaurav's finger is hurt, but I am not Gaurav's. I'm just in Gaurav's body, right? And that identification, freedom from that, is moksha that we want. Now, the other thing that we found in all our conversations is this: there are paradoxes that cannot be resolved. So, in Sanskrit, you'd say dvandvatita. Dvandva is pairs of opposites. And atit is beyond the pair of opposites. For example, uh, when you go to a store and you want chips, for example, if you only have one type of chip, then you want choice. But if you have 100 types of chips, then you're confused and unhappy because you have to make choices and you might regret the choice you make. So more choices is bad, less choices is bad. Just having enough choices is right. It is the same with money. Having too much more is bad because now you're concerned about how your kids will treat you and who will steal your money and is the government coming to tax me. But of course, having less is bad too because you don't want to be poor. It's the same with food. You can eat enough until you're satisfied, but once you've eaten to satisfaction, then frankly, more is bad because you no longer want to see food. This, in modern language, is known as the Goldilocks syndrome, where Goldilocks wants water which is neither too hot nor too cold, just right. Right? And so this recognition that in the middle of many paradoxes lies the answer to quality of life. It's not one or the other, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of the opposite. Now we come to a very important part. The experience of life, the quality of life is intricately and intimately linked with the experience of time itself in two ways. Time as samaya, which is what is the right time for things, and time as now, just this very moment, where the wheel of time is always moving and it is passing through the present moment very momentarily, and the next moment is here. Being in the moment is important, but it turns out we are never in the moment. Like the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, whose catchphrase was "I'm late, I'm late." He was always late. We're always late. We're always short of time. We're always busy. We're never. And the break we're having with the pandemic, frankly, should be. By the way, I'm still busy, but it should give us the time to reflect and realize the things that really matter. We don't need time for. We make time for those things. So that is atha, now, this very present moment. The other is samaya, which is time itself, time as such. And there's a lot going on there. There is a seasonality to everything, to my own life, to the seasons themselves, to the purpose and methods depending on the stage of life, to astrological time because the rhythm of the universe matters. What is the rhythm of the universe? The word rhythm itself, by the way, comes from the Sanskrit word rita. The entire Rig Veda is actually pivoting around the idea of rita, which is like dharma, which is an inherent sense of order in time. And so understanding that there is an order in time, there is always the right time to do something. And when you do it at not the right time, it doesn't feel so good, right? So if I am of a certain age and I'm still chasing women, that's not a good thing, right? Because then it's not seasonal. It's the Hindi word for that is puhar, right? It's out of context. It looks bad, right? That's the reason, because things must be done in time and you must be cognizant of what time it is. Finally, the universe is not made of atoms, as somebody said. The universe is made of stories, and narratives drive perspectives, but narratives can be selected. Arjuna's entire chapter of Arjun Vishad Yoga is him saying, oh, this will happen, then that will happen, then something else will happen, then something will happen. And eventually, long story said, I will not be happy. Long story. But you can change, like focusing your camera, you can change your context, you can change your story, and immediately life becomes good again. And so this ability to choose our stories allows us to actually change the quality of life. And so we were looking at one of the ideas we had heard in the talk. I'll tell you who had said it. Somebody said, why are we running? Whose note was this? I'm looking for it over here. It's right here. Shobhaji had said it. No, who had said it? Somebody had said, why am I running? Somebody asked their friends about it. Yeah, Rashmiji, you had this written. Why were we running all this while? People realized later in life that they were just running, but why were we running? Right? And so stories and the ability to pick our story and narrative is an important part of how quality of life can be improved. I'm going to stop here. I think I went over time, but is this a good summary of all our conversation? Did I go too fast?
It was beautiful, Gauravji. Amazing.
Yeah,
Very
it's all
nice.
your work. Yeah. So this is, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of ground. I'm sure there's more to go, but I think we've covered a lot. And I have to say, amazing notes, Shantiji. These are great notes. And so we were talking about this, the satisfaction level, right? Where certainly at some point in life, around the age that I am at, life satisfaction basically troughs and starts improving. Why? Because your season changes, the dependence ratio on you reduces. Aging parents have probably either died or have settled. Kids have gone off to college, and you no longer have the burden or illusion of running the world. So you're like, you know what, jo ho raha hai wo hone do, it's okay. And improvement in life satisfaction results almost immediately. And that's an interesting finding from science. Same with the anxiety. Same anxiety levels peak around middle age, and then immediately drop down because what is there to worry about? You're in bonus time, so it's all good. And so that's the interesting thing where modern science and Hindu tradition are very much in sync. All right. So this is what we found, and I hope this is sort of broadly in line with our objectives of synthesizing all the different perspectives in simple terms. Now I'll pause and look for feedback. Feedback.
Excellent, actually. It's very good.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
So
So let me.
I do have a question to ask
Yes.
you. Can you
Yes.
please go back to the Dharma slide?
Yes. Yes.
I know you summarized the Dharma, but for me, in person, actually, it is something irrespective of the situation and irrespective of whatever is tempting you, you do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'll write that here. That is a good thing because yeah. So so the when I've done talks on Sanatan Dharma, and
no,
and
for
this
me,
I'm not.
this is what I feel one should follow in day-to-day lives. Like in
Yeah.
a sense, you have so many temptations and you have so many influences, which is asking you to do something which may not be the right thing. You know, like as far as Dharma is concerned.
Yes.
But irrespective of what the end result is, it may not be in your favor too in many times. If you
Doing
follow the
right
path
thing.
of Dharma.
Yeah, but not driven by rules. So that the interesting finding I found from what everything that all dialogues in both the Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and in fact also including the Mahabharata, is that Sri Krishna says, look, rules are important, but his role entirely through Mahabharata has been around breaking the rules when they're needed to be broken. Because he says, look, dharma is a very complex thing. Right thing depends on the context as much as it does on the rules of the time. So breaking the rules was a core part of his thing as well. But interesting thing, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to add something. Yeah, right thing means like in these times of crisis, like in COVID era, I mean, we are getting so much information on WhatsApp, right? Like you can read Hanuman Chalisa, Lalita Sahasranama, they're all right things. But then, and I mean, and it is important right now, but then if we like listen to all those things, I mean, listen to satsangs, keep chanting, then where will be the time to, I mean, of course it is the right thing, but then we have to prioritize, right? So otherwise we can spend the whole day like doing yoga, meditation, chanting, everything. But then that is my dilemma right now, because I'm like flooded with all these things. Join this meditation, chant this, do that. I mean, I'm like, so I'm now like detoxifying. I mean, I don't want to listen to any of them now. I just want to do, I mean, because right now cooking, cleaning is more than enough that happening.
You're trying to get freedom from acquired knowledge, because people tell you to do this, and you acquired a lot of knowledge.
Yes, I mean, not
okay,
acquired
Ananda.
though, but yeah, I don't know.
I should actually write that. I will write that one, which is including WhatsApp. Sorry, Ananda.
Ananda, I just had a thought. When you say freedom, um, feeling of freedom, can it also be a freedom to be true to yourself? Because sometimes more than the fear of death, we have the fear is to express who we really are. We always like to be showing who we are not, just to please or to fit in or belong somewhere. So
Yeah.
could it
Okay.
be a freedom? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No, this is great. Freedom to be yourself. And that actually goes back to the Swadharma idea as well, which is right, because if you're always subjugating yourself for somebody else, then it will come out somewhere as being a problem in the self. Somewhere here is Swadharma, right here.
Because
The
because
hmm.
because we are always very not true to ourselves. We give a judgment not on others, but we judge ourselves more in a negative way constantly. So
Yeah.
we don't look at ourselves in a positive way. We are always thinking the other side is much greener always.
Yeah. That is correct.
Gaurav will it be Swabhava?
So Swabhava is, yeah, exactly. So maybe I'll move it under Swabhava. You're right. So let me move it under here. YMMB was just me writing very quickly, but it's your mileage may vary, which is to say that it's very individual. I'll delete it. It's needless. Okay. Okay. Here I also wanted to say another thing with Karma Yoga and this Dvandvati is I don't know if you know the psychology of flow, but easy and challenge. So it turns out psychology of flow is, you remember when you do some things that you'll do it for many hours and then you realize that, hey, many hours have elapsed, right? That experience is called flow. And interestingly, you don't ordinarily get into a flow state. Runners get into a flow state, meditators get into a flow state. And so this guy, this
Mihaly.
Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, right? So Mihai, okay, I'm just going to write this much and then it'll come. He did a whole bunch of analysis on flow states and he came with this. This chart is quite interesting because what he's saying is, okay, huh? He's saying is, you want to be here, which is you want to be challenged enough and be capable enough, right? Only in this state do you get flow. Any thing other than that, you're either too relaxed or bored or too anxious, right? You want to be somewhere in the middle. And so that itself is the same thing as being relaxed and alert. So, which is relaxed and alert. So I'll just write that. What do I have? So this sense that it's a very, it's like a razor's edge. It's always very subtle. This experience of finding the thing in the middle, which is one and its opposite. Okay. All right. More feedback.
And also when you were talking about the quality of life itself, it is the path of pleasant or the path of like there are two paths, right? The easy one and the one is the righteous one.
So
Shreyas.
Shreyas Prayas.
Yeah.
Shreyas and
So
Prayas.
I think the path you choose will actually lead to you, the right quality of life.
I'm wondering where I will put the
Path
Shreyas
of
and
pleasure
Prayas.
and path of pleasant. Pleasure is always instantaneous. It gives you instant gratification, but it is not long lasting. It does not contribute to Ananda.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where would the right place be for the Shreyas and Prayas. I'll put it here and I'll figure out where to put it later. Okay.
Maybe karma, maybe where fulfillment of desires, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have that, yeah.
I don't have a box, and I'm feeling that maybe I should have a new box for karma. So I will make one, and we'll deal with the consequences of that later. But something like that. Okay. Sorry, I'm having to edit in front of everyone, but
No problem.
yeah. Okay. Seeking after the end of desire. usually by being consumed. So the idea here is, so the usual way of getting to the end of desires, fulfillment of desire is by being consumed by that, by eating, by sex, by money, or whatever. But the opposite of that, of course, is also vairagya, where you realize from viveka, discrimination, that all of this is not going to help. It's not, eating more is not going to make me satisfied. And then eventually you cultivate dispassion or vairagya, which also leads to a fulfillment of desires in an offbeat manner, but probably more complete, which is, look, all this is fine, but I've had enough. Okay, thank you. That was very useful. All right, to recap, Purusharthas are included. The experience itself, which is indescribable, we have described here, and all of these ideas are expanded in the next few slides. We begin with desire, maybe not begin with desire, I'll move it below. We begin with just being uneasy and the sense of fulfillment and completeness that we want, which also we understand as santosha and satisfaction. Then the inherent sense of order in everything is what we seek, but a lack of that dharma is, an example of that is loneliness, which is our modern disease. You know what, I'll move this kama up. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth, but I think the right place for kama is right next to satisfaction and fullness. Okay. All right, then dharma. Then we did dharma, loneliness, swadharma, swadharma with respect to context of life, Ishwar pranidhana, and leading to moksha, and being beyond paradoxes, and in time, finally ending with the right story. Okay, so far so good. Have we covered everything we had discussed all these days?
I think so.
So far, right? Okay. I mean, I'm sure new ideas will come. Now, the next step is to really go to what Rashmi ji had done. So let me pull up the notes here. Shanti ji, those are great notes, by the way. And
Thank you, thank you.
now we come to this, where what we want to do is tell these things through stories and personal narratives, either real or invented. So these are great examples, right? So relationship with family leads to a fulfilling life. This is a great example to put in the context of dharma and connection, right? Connection with the family. And then all we have to do is put that quote story over here, and we're able to relate this to people. And they understand, because these stories are universal stories, right? Now, running the rat race versus spending time with family. Similarly, it's in the same place. This is this, singing my own song, right? Doing my own swabhava and expressing it is high quality of life. That's fantastic. The next story is, okay, family, friends, truth, integrity, kindness, all of these, right?
I have one
And this
more.
is about,
Sorry.
Anji, please go ahead. Yeah.
So I have one more which I will add today. I just got an email today, so I will add it later on to this. I have
Yeah.
one.
Rashmi ji, are you interviewing people like for this?
I'm talking to my friends.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe you could teach us what you're doing. Maybe we could all start doing it now, because I think this might become very interesting for us to have.
Right. I mean, we can take different perspectives. I mean, family members or friends.
Yes.
Yeah, it will be nice to if you could share these stories with us, right?
They are
Have
on
you shared?
yeah, they're on the quality of life. It is shared.
It's right. It's in the folder. So if you go to this folder called somewhere here, sorry, this is the wrong drive. Oh, sorry, somewhere here. It's called Quality of Life Project.
Okay.
Everyone should have access to it.
Okay.
It's called QOL. I can rename it to QOL Stories or something. So, okay, Quality of Life. First, we learn to spell it. Story and quotes. Okay, that way it will be easier to find. And And this is great. I mean, these are great examples. And if we have more of these, it's going to help us really play it back to everyone. So, for example, being unhappy with others, being dissatisfied with myself, not counting the blessings, not seeing the beauty in nature, feeling alone, a lot of these things. This is great. Anyway, so that's what needs to happen next. We will probably go through maybe 2 or 3 more iterations. Right now, this is very rough, but at least we have things in one place. It'll
So,
iterate.
Rashmiji, maybe if you can just tell us how you start the conversation and how it proceeds, maybe then we can also help you out.
Are you
Thank
sending
you.
emails? Are you calling friends? How are
I'm
you doing
actually
it?
calling friends,
Huh.
and I start by saying that I mean, all of my friends know that I have been doing the HCI course, so all of them know that. So I just reiterate the same thing, and I say we are a part of an organization. It's non-profit. We are doing projects that could help people read and see if something they could improve, or just read it through to help somebody else probably. Then you had that first thing about quality of life, so that's why I mean, I don't start by quality of life. The question I ask is what you always ask us: how do you feel today? How is it with you today? So then, okay, so then what is it you would value most in your life? Is there any change you would do, or any story that how you would like it to be? And then people, before you even give them questions, they just start.
Really?
People I mean, at least these 5 people who I talked to, and the 6th one today I got, they are so happy that somebody is asking them something like that. So I mean, all the replies I got from were like, people were really happy to share these experiences with me. So
Could
yeah.
it change because of this COVID? I mean, the perspective maybe, or could it be deeper, or could it be like a right frustration, more frustration or something?
Actually, no, I think it's more of them all are self-reflecting right now, right? Due to the COVID, everybody is self-reflecting. So probably the situation is giving them those answers. But yeah, I think the situation is a big part in this right now.
And it will be a nice way to connect to people at this time
Yes.
when we are like with when
Yes.
you're
And there are some who don't, I mean, when I say something like that, they totally change the subject, and then I just go with the flow because it looks like they don't want to talk, so I don't pressurize it back again. But when somebody says something and if they are interested in knowing about it and they talk, then I start, and when they answer back, they just start talking.
Huh.
So is it all Indians, or what kind of demographics are you?
And like you see, actually there is only one Indian in that, and a second Indian
Okay.
is, I haven't put it in, but everybody else is German. One is a dance teacher, he's gay. So it's all different communities are there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But once we get these stories, I think we'll be able to tell the points with more, with more clarity to other people. Otherwise, they'll get stuck behind the Sanskrit words.
Mm.
I feel. Okay, good. All right. So next action items are really for us to review this. I'll send you the video or audio of this meeting, but just let it play over your head and see if you're able to, if anything strikes you as being loose or missing, then we should fix this. But also go through your own life or lives of people that you know or stories you've heard and see if you can relate to all of these points, or each point if we are able to illustrate through an example. That'll be helpful when we present it back to other people.
Okay.
And also, if as you're thinking about it, if you have any recipe for that particular point. For example, people are always short on time. What is your recipe for that? What do we have to offer to someone who feels that they don't have time?
Slow down.
Great. How? Tell me how to slow down. So you say, okay, go learn meditation. Great example. Yeah. So that could be a recipe for us, right? So somebody said prayer in Rashmiji, your email, right? So prayer, it's a good way to change the relationship of us and the universe itself, right? and just that sense of gratitude and connection. Doing something for somebody else is actually restoring connection, and we feel good about it, which is why when we're learning to serve, that's what we're doing. So if we start writing down these recipes for things that we already know, but we're able to put them in the right place, then we'll have a formidable collection of things to do.
I think for me personally itself was what I meant by slowing down was like one has to prioritize what one needs to do, and then I think that itself will streamline your life, and you will find what your true passion is, and then you will devote more time to it instead of being a scatterbrain and going around. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. There is always a desire that you want to do so many things, but physically you cannot. For me, it took a long time to realize that.
RTG, when I have so many in my mind, I get to do nothing actually. I don't.
I know.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat.
It'll be in my mind haunting me. I have to do so many things. Then I'll not be doing anything actually.
And I can relate to Gauravji. Ever since this lockdown, my workload has gone up so much. I don't have any time for personal things.
Yeah, I wrote in Moksha, I've added freedom from the to-do list.
Exactly.
Yep. I think that's the best one.
Yeah.
No, this whole thing is fantastic. I think it is giving me a chance to reflect upon my own life and what I need to streamline too. So I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
Yeah,
I agree.
very true.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Gauravji, we
Yeah.
need more time to submit all our homeworks. It's not working.
Yes, so you'll hear back from Lataji and me on that. We will extend the time. Also, we'll do these. So all the lectures you've done, right? All the presentations you did early March, we will give you credit for those because obviously you've done that homework. You presented a 15-minute seminar. So that saves you some time. And I'm also thinking we'll do a sort of group call kind of thing where we call in, we discuss a topic. Because the problem with homework is not the length of words. It's 1-2 paragraphs, right? It's just the ability to just get your thoughts down.
Yeah, true.
So if we get on a call, we say, look, what the heck did we discuss in that particular thing? Okay, 15 minutes we talk about it. Then you can write your own thoughts in 15 minutes. It's like sending me an email, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a lot of work once you have your thoughts.
And presentations was an excellent idea. I think gave us all an opportunity to concentrate on one particular topic, do our own research on top of what the presenters had presented and prepare for it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I did, but I enjoyed
you're on mute.
I only wish we had more time, and we could do it more slowly. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but maybe we would not be able to do it then. But then I really wanted to enjoy this course even more, actually, go deeper into each topic. I mean, on our own self-study, Swadhyaya also, but then it's not possible with, I don't know how people like Gauravji and Aartiji, all are like, all of you, whoever is working on top of it, outside the house also. I don't know how you guys manage, but with nothing, I'm not able to cope up with these things. So, yeah, but
Babaji, don't say we have nothing, okay?
No, nothing. It's not nothing. Of course, definitely not nothing. Like it's a different way, but still, I'm saying so.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, but with work and everything that we have to do at home, also it adds up.
Right.
It's the time, how much time we have, and how much time we can dedicate for a particular activity and all that.
Right. Each and every topic, they were so interesting. I wish I had more time to go deeper into it. I wanted to read more about them, but then, somehow just want to finish up the homework assignment and get done with it right now.
Every topic is like it was an introduction to us.
Right.
For us
you haven't gone too deep into, that's true. All right, good. So homework from this, who's writing the notes from today? Someone can volunteer. I'll send you the recording to everyone anyway. Someone volunteer.
No.
Otherwise, I'll have to send the notes. I'll send the notes. Okay, so the homework is twofold. One, Talk to your friends about the stories and add to the stories in Rashmiji's document. 2, if you find recipes or things that people are doing or that comes to your mind for each of these items, note them somewhere, maybe even the presentation in the comments section below it, right? I can show you. So you can start writing. Let me just show you where to do it once again. So you all have access to this document. Ignore the slides below. Here, so for example, you can add speaker notes here, right?
Sure.
Here. So over here you can do all of that. So write the notes here, and I will compile it back up, or somebody will compile it back up.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. We have to leave this bridge before the 4 o'clock people come in. So thank you very much.